As you transition into teaching in an online format, you'll need to decide which teaching tools best fit your teaching style. An LMS is a learning management system. Your college or university has probably branded the product with a proprietary name, but all learning management systems should have similar tools that work in similar ways. For example, if you are the type of teacher that I call the leader, then you're probably a lecturer. You stand in front of the class and you present content on a pre-assigned topic. You probably use some great visual aids, but it relies on you and you projecting that information for your students in this content-based approach. If this is your approach to teaching, you'll probably like these tools. You can turn your lecture notes or handouts into PDF documents and upload them directly to your course content pages. You can even include visual aids. Just make sure that any images you use are allowable under copyright laws. You can also use simple screen recording tools, just as I'm using now, to record yourself giving your presentation and upload the video for your students to watch later. Similarly, you could use web conferencing tools to teach the class live, then archive the session to make it available for students to view later on. When thinking of what tools to assess with, you may want to consider using quiz tools to create comprehension-based self-grading quizzes so that students can see whether they've understood not only the content from the textbook, but the content from your lectures. You could also use the quiz tools to have students input the answers for study guides. You could create a study guide, upload it as a PDF, and allow the students to print it out and complete the study guide at home. Then you would duplicate those questions in a quiz format so that the students can use their notes to fill in the quiz as a way of submitting their answers. You could use a Dropbox and have students upload PDFs of their completed guides, but this would require students to have the technology not just to open a PDF, but to complete it electronically and then upload the PDF document. And this may be problematic for some students. You'll also probably want to be able to use checklists because those would allow students to literally check off the steps that they have completed through whatever the project you're assigning. Maybe you're what I like to call the director. You like to assign group work. You like peer feedback, and you like discussion-based learning. If this is your teaching style, you'll probably like these tools. You can use web conferencing tools to hold group sessions where students can work together even if you need to leave the virtual classroom. But you can also use discussion boards to create groups where students can work with the students in their group privately before they all post their work to a class-wide board. You could also use the discussion board as a place for students to put worksheets or steps of their writing guide. You may want to check out what external tools your college or university may offer, including things like Office 365 Teams. You also might want to look into free online tools like Google Docs, where students collaborate on a document outside of the LMS. Again, you can use Dropboxes to have students complete assignments and turn them into you, and you can use the quiz function to test their progress. Maybe you're what I like to call the facilitator. You are all about the writing workshop. You like to have individual interactions with students, and you can find LMS tools to help you do that too. You can use a discussion board to allow students to post work in progress for all of the class to review. If you do this, you want to make sure to explain to students that you will be assessing their work on the discussion board as a process, not on whether or not they got it right the first time or created a perfect thesis statement or a perfect essay. Instead, you'll be looking at the collection of their work along the way. I would recommend that you advise students to reply to themselves rather than editing their work so that you can see the whole process on the board. You may also want to create a restriction so that students have to post their own work before they can see the work of classmates on the discussion board. You may also want to consider using web conferencing tools. You can use these to meet with students individually and allow them to share their screen with you so that you can see their writing in progress and comment on it. You can also share your screen so you can show them how to do something like set up an MLA Works Cited page, for example. For multi-draft assignments, consider using a quiz instead of having students use the Dropbox. You could set up a quiz and allow the students to have multiple attempts on that long answer quiz. If you do this, remember to enable the HTML function so that students have all the word processing tools they'd normally have. You could set this up as a timed assignment, but if it's a writing assignment, you might want to give them unlimited time so that they can use as much as they want to and go in and out of the quiz. When you do this, you'll be able to offer them feedback on each one of their quiz attempts, but you can set the assessment so that it uses the last attempt for grading purposes so that only their final draft score counts. Alternatively, you could set up a separate drop box for each draft of an essay, but you'll need to label the drop boxes, for example, Essay 1, Draft 1, Essay 1, Draft 2, and offer them feedback separately. This may also create separate columns in your grade book if you want to offer a separate grade for each step of the draft. If they're available, consider using intelligent agents in your LMS communication tools to send personalized, targeted emails to students who meet certain criteria on an assignment. This could be based on a score they receive on a quiz or an essay. It could be based on whether or not they accessed content pages. It could be based on whether or not they posted to a discussion or to a Dropbox. These emails can point them to additional resources to help them in problem areas. For example, you could set it so that students who received less than 70 on an MLA citation quiz received an email that had specific websites that they could go to get more information on how to do that works cited page. Or maybe you're what I like to think of as the hybrid instructor. You mix a little of all these styles. Don't be afraid to mix tools within a module. But if you do so, be very clear on where students can find each part of the weekly lesson and related activities. You may want to consider having something like a dynamic syllabus. This is simply a fancy way of saying it's a syllabus that has hyperlinks that take them right to each assignment. So when a student sees a name of an assignment, they can click on that name and it takes them to the right tool in the LMS. Lastly, don't forget to reach out to the publishing company that you use for the textbook in the class if you have one. They're probably offering some great e-tools that you can add to your teaching already.